Newcastle United are in the midst of a bidding war for João Pedro, Elanga, and Trafford. Will they come out on top? Added to that, another war has been with the Premier League and have been allied with Man City. I'm going to talk all about it right here with Vator Games, right here on Toon Tactics TV, folks.
Oh, brilliant from Shaq. And now Murphy can take on the shot. Fabian Schär
All right, all right, all right. How are you folks all doing? Another great evening, another fantastic Thursday. I am super looking forward to this. Special guest Vator Games will be on with us shortly. We're going to be talking all things Man City in tonight's show, getting his views on, getting his kind of little review of uh, of their season that they've just had, obviously, but also getting his perspective on their current transfer window and where they're heading to, as well as getting some of his opinions on some of their court battles and kind of with the Premier League and talking all things PSI and ATPs and stuff like that. Neither of us are experts, but we want to be able to give our opinions on it. But I want as there's been uh, some news already whilst I was setting up already. We've had some news in regards to bids and players linked to Newcastle United. I want to make sure that we have a proper discussion about it. So let me make sure I load it up. We know that throughout the day, really, and uh, throughout the day, but also really because we've had Newcastle being linked to all sorts of bids and explanations. The Telegraph, Luke Edwards has linked us to kind of three active bids, but again, I'm not sure that particular. I don't know if you guys have read it, but I'm not sure that particular article points to anything new necessarily. I think most of us fans we've known that Newcastle are bidding for various players. Also, some new links to Xavi Simons and I think it's Antonio Nusa from RB Leipzig, and we'll get some. I'm not sure if we'll be able to get we'll see how we do for time if we can discuss those a little bit further. We have discussed Xavi Simons before, for instance. So I would be personally, I'll be particularly very excited about that particular transfer if it were to happen. But let's kick things off with literally hot off the press. Newcastle's have been some breaking news literally within the last hour. This is from M. Hardy. I think he's from the Times News. Newcastle United have had a £50 million bid turned down for João Pedro and a 25 million bid turned down for James Trafford. This is on top of obviously the previous day where we had a 45 million bid turned down for Anthony Elanga, and there's already been rumours that Newcastle are linked to another possible 50 or 55 million bid for Mr. Elanga himself. But let's break these down per player and see where we're at and see what's going on. I want to be able to kind of gauge from you folks how you guys feel about it, the players, the money involved, the bids, the transfer window in its entirety, how you feel about all of it kind of being public. What is your thoughts already? And already we've got folks in the chat. Adrian Pickett, always a blessing to see, sir, and God bless you. Even Philip, haven't just having just watched the demolition of Juventus. Yes, thank you for reminding me. I need to see what the score is. Man City haven't got much to worry about, and we'll be talking. I think maybe Vator is probably doing a review of that game before he jumps on as well. Did it finish 5-2? What's been the end result? Was it 5-2? Last time I saw it, I think it might have been at 5-2, 5-1, something like that. do let me know. And already, like I said, you folks are in the chat. As always, folks, you've been absolutely tremendous with your likes, shares, and subscribes. You've been, getting that up really, really. It's been absolutely phenomenal. And like I said, the previous week we had 17 new subscribers. This week we've got 16 new subscribers, and it's all down to you guys liking, sharing, subscribing. And I always forget this, but do leave something in the comments, even if it's just to say great show or not a great show. Hopefully it was, or like just up the tune, whatever it is in the comments in the YouTube world. It always helps to get people get the streams out there. So it's always a blessing. Adrian, thank you for clarifying that. So 5-2 Man City. That's a fantastic result. Brilliant result for them as well. If I can catch the highlights, I will give it a watch. Cy Robson, good to see you, sir. God bless you. Evening, Philip. Evening to you. So we're just, would you say that, Adrian? Makes me weep to see City's recruitment this summer. Well, we're going to be talking about City's recruitment and with Vator as well once once he gets on, because I did get to do a little bit of research, and it would be really good to kind of get his take on City's business so far. As always a blessing to see. Aaron came from the chat. Good to see you, sir. God bless you. Excuse me. Right. So, good evening, Philip. How much would you approximately pay? Excuse me. How much would you approximately pay for the three players we have put in offers for before walking away? Great question. It actually segues me back into this conversation, Aaron. I'm going to answer this question directly whilst we're talking about them, because I want to get you guys' views. So obviously we've got three players that we've been rumored to have been putting in bids for. Obviously, and today, as we've heard, we've had a bid of £50 million turned down from Mr. João Pedro. We've had a bid of £25 million turned down from Mr. Trafford, James Trafford. And obviously, yesterday we had a bid of £45 million turned down for Anthony Elanga. And we're rumored to be back in for him, I think for 55 million. I don't know if anybody in the chat knows a little bit more accurately. For 55 million for Mr. Elanga. So we'll see how that goes. And so if you just combine those particular bids in, like in terms of what we know that Newcastle have bid for, so 50 million for João Pedro, plus 25 million for Mr. Trafford, that makes it 75 million, plus the 45 million for Mr. Elanga, that already puts us at 120 million pounds collectively. So that's the three bids that we know about. Let's break it down. Let's start off with Mr. Who should I start? I'll say João Pedro. He's on my mind. So I'll start off with João Pedro and see where we're at. How much would you guys pay for João Pedro? We've done player profiles on him before. Just a quick reminder, he's 24 years old, obviously plays for Brighton, has been playing in the Premier League for about 2-3 seasons now. This season, I forget what his goal return was. It wasn't overly high, but he's had a decent goal assist. Last season, the season before, he had 20 goals, I think, across all competitions. We talked about how this season, I think anyway, he had less goals because he spent a little bit less time in the box as he did in the previous season, hence why the goal return is a bit lower. But he's a really, really versatile forward, can play across the front three. He started off his career as a defensive midfielder, and hence why his dribbling ability, his take-ons is really good. His key passes, he's going to really, really improve our offensive impact from the midfield area, providing those key passes. I'm particularly excited about him because I see him as more of a number 10 playing for us as well, or even as a left 8, perhaps in the rotating with Joe Linton, as well as obviously primarily he's going to be rotating with Isak or playing with Isak. But I think he might also be rotating with Joe Linton on occasions as well, and possibly even Anthony Gordon. So his versatility is absolutely superb. His work rate is absolutely through the roof. And he's even on occasions been captain in Brighton as well. So there's some leadership skills. Are there some flaws? Of course there is. We've seen the flying elbow trying to give a player. He could have been arrested for attempted GBH. Is he fiery? Yes. I think part of the reason why he's even leaving Brighton is of an alleged altercation with Jan van Heck. But Eddie Howe, and I agree with him, is that he likes these players that play on the edge. Anthony Gordon, Joe Linton, Bruno Gomes. That's just the ones I can think from the top of my head. Even Dan Burn on occasions. And I don't mind that, honestly. That's what, if you're able to harness the aggression and the power of these players, you can get the most out of them. So there's a lot in terms of João Pedro, and there's a lot to kind of look at it. £50 million. Is João Pedro worth £50 million? And nowadays, I think it's interesting because it's becoming less and less about what the actual player is worth and more about what is happening in the market. I've got an on running conversation and discussion with my fellow Man United colleagues, and in terms of fellow football content creators, where they don't like the fact that I've been talking about how Man United have helped to inflate the market by paying 63 million release clause for Cunha. And Brentford themselves, not me, Brentford themselves cited that particular transfer and said, and Wemo therefore is worth 60 plus million. And that's part of the reason, the big part of the reason, as we know, why Newcastle walked away from that particular deal, because they don't think that Mbeumo is worth 60 million. Brighton don't think Mbeumo is worth 60 million. They quoted us 50 million when we initially came in for that. So the market has inflated, and essentially it's a situation where 60 million is the new 50 million, or 60 million is the new 40 million. I don't know, in terms of players right now. And so that Premier League experience, his age and everything else, I think we are going to be looking at anything between 50 to 60 million for a João Pedro, or for any kind of forward player, Premier League forward player, who's under the age of 26, 25, in the current situation. So I do think that when Newcastle are going to probably bid higher for him, I think eventually, hopefully, we can get a bid accepted where I can almost see us paying 55 million for him, with maybe 5 million in add-ons. That could make it a total of 60 million package in itself. And in the current market, in the current climate, we are in a situation where we have to pay it. It is what it is. And yes, I would pay it for João Pedro. His age, his versatility, his Premier League experience, his work rate, his leadership, added to the fact where I think I'm sure he's going to have a good relationship with the likes of anyone isn't in our anyone in terms of our players, but we've got obviously Joe Linton, Bruno Gomes, and kind of joining the Brazilian cohort and adding to it, I think would be absolutely fabulous. And as Adrian Pickett there says, 60 isn't outlandish. And obviously I agree with that. I think so, but that's where we're at the moment. Aaron Cape says Malik Fofana is a good opportunity. He is. Consider Lyon relegation, but don't see it happen as he's a left winger. He's a left winger, and I think Liverpool might be in for him as well. And Eddie's looking for Premier League proven. I think as well. I mean, I think people kind of bemoan that, but I think we forget. Even sometimes I forget and I have to remind myself is that we are between a year and 18 months behind in terms of our actual squad building, in terms of recruitment of our squad, because we haven't bought as I keep on saying, we haven't bought a first team squad player for 3 transfer windows. That is tremendous. We haven't been able to buy. We were supposed to buy Gahey last summer transfer window. We were supposed to buy these players previously, right? So we're behind, and so at the moment, Eddie Howe is still completing that first stage of our actual recruitment, which is kind of raising the floor and whilst at the same time trying to raise the ceiling a little bit in terms of our players. So hence why we're not going for your Malik Fofanas. Had we been able to buy your João Pedros and your Elangas in the previous summer transfer window, I think we would have been taking more of a risk on the likes of your Malik Fofanas, maybe even your Magnus Akliushas, to kind of add that depth, add that youth, players that we're going to be bringing through. So at the moment, we're still paying the price for that now. That's kind of my take. So João Pedro for 60 million. I've got a few folks. I saw Adrian Pickett kind of agree, sort of is saying obviously that isn't outlandish. Oh, I've gone off my thing. Here we go. Let me go back to the. Have I gone off it? No. Let me just zoom back down. I thought it was another exclusive. So whilst I was talking to you guys, I was trying to get to it, but I don't think there's been one. But feel free in the chat to let me know if there's been any exclusives, any more on the bid to let me know. I will go to those stories. Aaron King, 55 to 50 million is a good price in today's market. Yeah, I mean, I think that's what Brighton are looking for. I think anything towards that 60 million mark is what they're looking for at the moment. Cy Robson could be a decent backup. Yeah, and a backup who I think would be fighting for that first team spot. And I think he will back himself to do it. Delap didn't back himself, hence why we haven't got Delap. But Mr. Pedro does back himself to do it. So I give him credit for that. Okay, let's say Newcastle, going back to Aaron Kane's first question is, what would be the total price we'll pay? Let's say 60 million all in for João Pedro. Let's say we're going 55 million plus 5 million add-ons, or 50 million plus 10 million add-ons. I think it'll probably be 55 plus 5 million add-ons. So let's just say all in. I'm not going to be doing this whole thing about, but the baseline is 55 million. All in, 60 million for Mr. Pedro. All right. So James Trafford. Let's go on to James Trafford, right? He's the one that I personally think, in my view, is probably a done deal. There was a report from, I think it was, I'm going to say Shearer, but it's Nicola Shearer. I don't know if you guys saw that. I think he's an Italian journalist. And he kind of, some people feel perhaps prematurely has said that that Newcastle have had a bid accepted for, or have had a bid. Let me just finish writing this. Here we go. Have had a bid accepted, but I think some of our own kind of ITKs have said that it will probably given a verbal bid rather than an official bid, and we're kind of still seeing their return on that. But essentially, from Mr. M Hardy, he's saying that Newcastle have bid 25 million for Trafford. I just think there's a lag time. Me personally, this is just me. I haven't got any insights, and I haven't got any. James Trafford isn't talking to me. Eddie Howe certainly isn't talking to me. I personally think that deal's probably over the line, or getting towards over the line. But let's accept this report. I'm accepting this report that Newcastle have had a 25 million deal accepted for Mr. James Trafford. And we've had all sorts of reports saying that essentially Burnley are looking for something towards more close to the 35 million mark. Is he worth it? Let me know what you guys think. Is Trafford worth it? I've been watching some of our rivals talking about Newcastle be linked to James Trafford, and as we've spoken previously to Mitch here on our show on Tuesday, already kind of our rival fans are kind of already underwhelmed by our transfer DNA, which is great for me. Which is great for me to hear. And they don't rate James Trafford that highly. I think we should be doing something a little bit better. I personally think James Trafford is a great signing. 21, 22 years old, record number of clean sheets with Burnley, getting them to the Championship. Modern goalkeeper. Actually started off as a midfielder playing for Carlisle, England, on third choice keeper at the moment, probably going to be second choice and first choice in the next couple of years. Good possibility that he plays in the World Cup, should he win his number one spot at Newcastle, play Champions League games and everything else. That would be incredible. That would be absolutely sensational were that to happen, in my opinion. But that maybe I might be going a bit too far ahead, but I'm going to back him to do it. This is not to say that he's going to change our way of play, or we really want to be able to play better from out the back. Having him almost as a third, fourth, as that 11th man on the field in terms of helping us to build up from the back. And look, But he's obviously, we saw him in those scenes where he won the England under-21s tournament with Gordon, with Cole Palmer, saving the penalty. You saw Cole Palmer saying, watch, he's going to save it, he's going to save it. And you just know that his shot-stopping skills are absolutely phenomenal. His teammates have absolute confidence in him. So he's just an incredible talent that I think is waiting to kind of to materialize. So uh, I'm not surprised that Burnley are looking for more money for him. And he's a huge talent. Some already are saying that he's already kind of been, kind of letting Burnley know, hey, look, personal agreement has been done. Release me type of thing. So we'll see how that goes. But would you guys buy him for 35 million? Would you meet Burnley's asking price? And by the way, I forgot what I was going to say is that I've obviously had. It's not to say that he's perfect. I've had my reservations. We've seen him previously 2 years ago now with Burnley when they first came up, and one of the things I was worried about was, is he a vampire? Because he was afraid of crosses. He looked absolutely scared when the crosses were coming in. And and there is some stats to suggest that, we're still yet to find out if he has improved in that department. So there's something to work on there. And that's to do with presence, it's to do with personality. Let's see. I do think he has the personality. And I think when he's playing with a defensive line of Dan Burn or Sven Botman or any of those other guys, that we're going to see that arise. So let's think about it. If it's 30, 35 million, would you guys pay it? I think Newcastle probably return with a fee of probably an initial fee of 30 million plus five. I wouldn't be surprised for that to happen, honestly. I think that would be the case. And I think we'll probably go. Sounds like I'm kind of accepting everyone's prices at the moment. So let's say all in for Mr. James Trafford 35 million, all in for Mr. João Pedro at 60 million. That puts us at 95 million. And obviously we've got that whole Anthony Elanga situation. Let's move on to. And let me know, but wait, in the chat, guys, let me know what you guys' views are. Cy Robson says 35 million could be a gamble. It is, no doubt. But if it pays off, we've got a top goalie for the next 10 plus years. And everybody starts saying what geniuses we are with that as well. So we've got that to look forward to. So guys, continue to let me know in the chat what you guys think. We've got Niall Kane, good to see you, sir. God bless you. Big up, boss. Big up to you, sir. Red Devil United, good to see you in the chat as well. Doing his programs, doing absolute numbers as well, and it's deserved. Phenomenal work. And we had him on last week Thursday. He's been absolutely phenomenal. Great to see you, sir. On Anthony Lang, I think before I get into that. And speaking of phenomenal content creators, we've got our special guest, Mr. Vator Games, on. And before I get him on, as always, folks, an incredible content creator for the Man City channels, an absolute gentleman on and off the screen as well. I'll never forget, especially my early days in terms of starting just content creating and kind of reaching out to people about coming on as a guest or doing videos. Like he was one of the guys that really kind of responded and helped me on so many projects. Absolutely phenomenal. You guys don't, like it means so much, especially when you're starting out. You've got like 3 people in your subscriptions, and you've got people just saying, "Yeah, I'll do it." That's absolutely phenomenal. So I want to welcome our man Vator Games on. Sir, how are you doing? How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing all right. I just enjoyed a little bit of Club World Cup. Happy with the result, and to know that I was going to be able to talk some football and maybe talk about the result a little bit with you, man. I'm happy with it. Everybody in the chat right now, and if you're watching live, hit the like button. If you're watching live, drop a comment. Let the man know that you're part of the show and get involved. And if you're watching this on the replay, drop a comment as well. Hit that like button. It makes a world of difference. And there's some channels that are out there. Let me do this. Let me plug up my man Toon for a second. There's many channels out there that all they do is, what's the algorithm saying? What's trending right now? Let me talk about that. Let me title my things heated debate, discussion. Tune in. When you tune in, and this is a play on words. When you tune in to Toon Tactics, listen, it's talking football. And this perspective with regards to Newcastle, I very much appreciate it. And man, thanks for having me on.
It is absolute blessing. And my mistake, I haven't sent you the schedule. So, but I'm going to let you know, Vator, we're going to be doing a review, like a brief review of Man City's season. Get your take on your transfers that you've done so far and future work that you want to get done. We'll discuss a bit about your stats and everything else. I'm looking forward to that. I'm just finishing up this, and I'm going to get your views on this at the end of it as well. And we'll actually obviously talk about your game. And folks are saying on the channel. Yeah, folks are saying in the channel, in the chat, sorry, that about talking about your game as well. So we're gonna get to that. And we're gonna get your view at the end of this. So essentially, there's just been some live updates on Newcastle's bids. We've made three bids for Mr. João Pedro, Mr. James Trafford, a former Man City Academy graduate. They're absolutely everywhere across the Premier League, and Mr. Anthony Langa as of last night. So I'm just doing an individual breakdown in terms of the players and seeing what should be the total kind of pay that Newcastle should go for. So I've basically said, look, Mr. João Pedro, we're probably going to have to go all in 60 million for him. I think we've just had a 50 million pound bid turned down for him. I did say that, and I'm sure that Red Devil United, maybe other fans, but Red Devil United is Rich's objective. I'd love to hear his view, but I was saying that I've got an on-running debate, conversations with my Man United colleagues saying, look, this inflation in prices is because of you.
Yeah.
You went and paid 60 plus million for Mr. Cunha. Brentford, not me, not Toon Tactics. Brentford themselves cited the fact that you paid 60 plus million for Mr. Cunha when you went in for Mbeumo and said, well, if you paid 60 million for Cunha, you can pay 60 million for Mbeumo. When Brentford quoted us the price for Mbeumo, it was 50 million, right? So because they know what we pay for players. They don't like that, which is fine. We're not always supposed to like each other's panels, but part of the reason, so because the question was, is João Pedro 60 million? He's not 60 million.
He's not.
But the market is what the market is, and 40 million is the new 60 million. Is how I'm looking at the moment. Honestly, it's just where we're.
It's how things are moving.
It's how things are moving. So far, I've said 60 million all in for João Pedro. I think we're probably going to get to the 35 million mark for Mr. James Trafford, probably 30 plus 35 million. Anthony Elanga, I'm going to get to yourself, Vator Games, in terms of like, we bid 45 million for him yesterday, which is the price we would have liked to pay for most of the players. Yeah. But we are where we are. And that's been turned down. Forest wants something closer to 60 million. I wonder why, but we are where we are. And first of all, two-part question. What's your thoughts on Anthony Elanga in terms of what you've observed of him? And if you were Newcastle, what would you pay for him?
Yeah, so the player I actually rate. I rate considering the rap that he had was because of a United exit.
Yes.
Because of the Manchester United, he didn't make it
there.
The
reverse halo effect. Effect.
So because he quote unquote didn't make it over there, then he's somewhat not good of a player. But he's been torching the league. And when I say torch, I don't mean like, okay, you just look at what he does stat wise and this is what he is as a player, but you look at what he means and what he would mean to Newcastle. And I think when you guys honestly don't have what I'm going to call luxury players. Yeah. Like you don't have players that won't stick their nose in it, players that won't, grind for the full 90 minutes. That's what this player is. And I think he would bode really well, especially because you win a season where you're trying to find someone that could be consistent on that right wing. And he makes a lot of sense. The price tag, as much as we hate where things have kind of gone from a price standpoint, it also works in reverse, right? So if you're buying at 60, you're looking to sell at 55, 60 as well for like close to the same talent going the opposite way. So I don't know what it means. I don't know what it means again with Newcastle's opportunity to to maybe sell some of the not as impactful players. But if you're buying for 60, hopefully you're also selling well. It's always going to get inflated, man. And United did mess things up for what because they, in my opinion, they did it in reverse. If they went and got Mbeumo first, because again, you look at resume, you look at what he was able to accomplish. He got those numbers with a partner, right? There were two guys going out and getting goals and being that effective. I think had they maybe spent what was the right value before it got inflated on Mbeumo and then went in for Cunha, it would have worked out. Because again, like where were Wolves? Wolves would have, Wolves would have been happy to take that money. They didn't have to work on that deal first. So I think it's kind of put everything in disarray a little bit. Now the snowball effect is everyone's got to pay a little more.
Right.
But you guys getting him, I know rivals will probably talk about what is he? How does he a needle mover? But you guys don't need much. Like that was a vacancy. That was something that was actually a weak side of your team or your side of attack. Everywhere else was damn near really strong. So he complements and he definitely improves. And again, another time maybe we talk about how this whole thing's messed up with PSR and what you got to do. But if you're able to retain your talent, and you bring in Elanga, I think the confidence and say, you know what, we're going to retain in the top 4 to remain in Europe. The confidence to say, you know what, the League Cup win isn't the only trophy you guys can like possibly win. Yeah, I think it's good business. It's just you're probably at a point where you got to pay what you have to pay.
You got to pay what you got to have to pay, and this goes directly. And I'm going to go to the chats in a moment and just answering the question. I'm basically giving every club what they want. So I've said 60 million for Pedro, 35 million for Mr. Trafford, and I'm probably going to pay close to. I think we can get away with 55 million for Elanga, though. I think Forest will be angry if we. That's why I think this thing between Pedro and Elanga. I think for us to be watching that. So let's see where that goes. I'll say 55 for Elanga. So already, so that makes it 60 plus 55, 115 plus the 35 for 120, 150 million, 150,
145. Yeah,
145. So thank goodness Vator's here. I'd have been given wrong numbers. So, guys, answering your question, Aaron. 125. I'm paying 145 for the 3 players. Let me know in the chat how crazy that is, or whether you're going to say, like as Vader saying, look, the market is the market. That's not me saying, oh, Mr. Lango or Mr. Pedro are 60 million pound players. They're not. But the market is what the market is. So let me just go into the chats and then we're going to get onto that Man City news. Let's talk about proper negotiators in a moment in Man City. So Red Devil United, I think putting an Elanga bid, we need the money. Of course, Man United got a sell-on clause, 20% sell-on clause on Mr. Elanga.
Oh yeah, they'd love that.
I won't make any jokes, Rich, because I like you. If he was anybody else, Rich, I would have made a joke about that. Onaya Trafford deal has to be done, otherwise alarm bells will start to ring. I agree. Yes, I do agree. I think we've been chasing him for a very long time. We had a personal agreement agreed last year with him. Red Devil United, Rich. Elanga, great in transition. Is he what you need? So yeah, look, and I've seen these conversations on the online, and I think the best reply I've seen to it from Sean Case, and I agree with it again, is I think Elanga's been seen as a transition player. Is he a transition player or does he play for a transition team?
Right.
So I think he plays for a transition team, and we need to give him an opportunity to play for like a side like Newcastle United, where yes, at times we're playing for transition, but we're looking to be a lot more front-footed. Does he have the qualities? I think he does. If you see his stats and his scout reports, he can go either side. He can dribble past players, which is what you need you'll know this Vator from the players that you've got. That you need players that can go either side, who can cross. He is the set piece taker for us, so it shows that he has technique. So I think he has the ingredient. Yes, sir. Go on.
And what I would also say is, how do I want to say this correctly? If I get that he's not Mbeumo, all right, so
Yes.
that ship's kind of sailed, but if you were to have Mbeumo, then it's like, oh, I got to worry about the entire front three equally, right? Then it's like, okay, balls at Gordon's foot, it's a problem. Balls at Isak's foot, it's a problem. And Mbeumo, the same thing. I think, Elanga doesn't bring that same fear in terms of what he is threatening wise, but if he's just to be slightly lesser, but look to be the feeder to either of those two, whereas before it could have been like any three's a threat, but more often than not, let's say 7 out of 10 times he's going to be looking for Isak or maybe Gordon. That isn't bad. So he's a transition player, or he can't create for his own, or he can't take. I don't think he's really going to be needed for that. Like, I think there's still going to be I'm going to defer to Isak, obviously, because Isak had an amazing season and he's in great form. Gordon, quality as well. So if he's the third guy amongst them, it makes a lot of sense to me. The downplaying or the maybe some of the hate with regards to this kind of signing, I think it's rivals trying to be rivals. I really think it's a good signing for you guys. And this as well, I know we'll get into it. Unfortunately, there's a time where you gotta pay higher than what you want to as a club that's trying to establish, right?
Yeah.
And then when you kind of get you get grounded. And listen, before anyone watches and say that they're trying to be a little big brother, it's none of that. I just it's like understanding that the club's got to. Sometimes you got to pay what you got to pay, and then when you get yourselves established, and then clubs know now. I'm turning away now. I'm turning away. You keep trying to hike up the price, so y'all do what you got to do, because listen, the rivals don't want to see Newcastle. The rivals want you out. So do what you got to do to really make what should have been a consistent season after you guys were in Champions League to be like. So I think you guys should invest for that. I
agree, and I'll add to that Mr. Elanga is Swedish teammates with Isak. So Eddie Howe's thinking of this. It's not like he's going to be confused about, how do I watch the runs for Isak? How do I connect? Like, there's already that chemistry, so it just makes things work. Cy Robson, I'm not an Elanga fan, and it's always good to be honest about these things. No one's, I love that. Like I said on this show, I would love it if we signed Bakayoko from PSV. Talented player. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him like at Bournemouth or somewhere. Onaya, devastating speed versus unpredictable dribbling. How will go for speed? Absolutely. Bobby Fairview, good to see you, and God bless you, sir. Big up, Philip. Welcome, Vator. Bless up the chat. I hope that everyone is doing well. We are living life to the full. We're living life to the full here. Reinders is a cheat code. City showing Chelsea how to do a real rebuild for less than 300 million. Do you know, I didn't even think of that.
Bobby, relax, man. Relax. No cheat code talk. It's early.
You're making them blush.
Yeah.
Lovely there. Ginesta, good to see you. God bless you. Evening to you, sir. Adrian Pickett. Man City squad fills me with envy. What a fascinating array of talent. Pep has at his disposal. And we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about that some length as well. Iniesta, Wijnaldum. Question: thoughts on multiple ownership? Surprised that Newcastle haven't set one up. We're going to get into. There's. I'm not surprised. Man City got up about 10 sister clubs, which benefits them a lot in my opinion. And I'm going to start this comment. We're going to get back to this because we are going to be touching on all of this stuff, and that's going to require a bigger conversation. Michael, evening, Phil, and chat. Hope all is well. God bless you, Michael. Good to see you, and always good to see people coming into the chat. Unai Ilanga could help Isak stay a bit longer. Well, I'll pay whatever you need to get Mr. Isak to stay a little bit longer. I'm going to ask Vator later on in terms of what's he think about the whole Isak saga. In Iniesta, final question. We're going to go into all things Man City. Iniesta, Wijnaldum. Another interesting fact with these three targets is that all of them qualify as homegrown. Is it? Really? Ilanga came to England as a 12-year-old, and Pedro spent 3 years at Watford between the ages of. Hey, I didn't even.
Wow.
That is something.
Wow.
That is very well observed, Ronaldo. I had no clue about that. That is so well observed. Maybe then, because we've been kind of alluding in the media saying, hey,
Right.
there's some targets abroad that people don't know about. Okay, watch the space. Very well observed. Very well observed. All right, guys, it's been absolutely phenomenal in the chat. It's been ringing off. We've seen more viewers as well coming on. I think it's because of our special guest. And guys, do remember to like, share, and subscribe. As always, leave a comment in the chat. Say, leave what it is. Toon, big up the show. Maybe give us some prices for what you pay for all three. It'll be absolutely phenomenal. Right, so let me take off the screen. We've got some other stuff, Man City, I want to talk about. But before we get on to the stuff I really want to talk about, you've just won 5-2 against Juventus. You're in the Club World Cup. You made some purchases to get to the World Cup, which we're going to, again, speak specifically. But Juventus, 5-2. What did you see? Who played? What did you see? How do you feel about it? What's your thoughts?
So first, I was really hesitant with regards to the Club World Cup because I'm like, we didn't have the best season last year. There's been so many injuries last season. I just want everybody healthy. It's kind of like, let's just have an off season. Let's everybody get right. Have Pep have a preseason and let's go again. I think the trust in the club has been amazing because I think Pep has found the perfect balance. He's gonna get it training sessions. He's gonna get these new players that are required in January as well as summer, get everybody familiar. But the amount of rotation that he's showing, he's like, I'm going to do my best not to put too many kilometers on those legs because we do have a season to play. What I've been seeing has been amazing. He didn't play. I think it's probably literal, but don't hold me to it. But I think it was a complete different 11 from both games, right? And then he also switched it up in this game versus Juventus. Healthy Rodri is what's most exciting for me, and
Scary
he's
too.
looking good. He's looking good in terms of mobility. You can tell that the timing is slightly off. Like his first game, passes were a little off, kicks out of bounds. That's fine, all acceptable because he had such a long time off. But we look like we're getting back to how we used to play, and that's yes, we're gonna be very committed in attack, and if we lose back, like if we lost the ball, like when we had a Fernandinho or when we had Rodri, yeah, we'd be somewhat vulnerable, but we'll deal with it because there's more advantages in terms of attacking together than holding back. The game that I saw today versus Juventus was, I'll be honest with you, the first true test. Like who like our games earlier. I mean, we played a Moroccan team. They weren't really that good, although it was a 2-0. We played the next game and it was a scoring fest. But at the same time, this was going to be a true test. Playing Juventus, we gave up, in my opinion, one very poor goal. Ederson kicked it not quite to Bernardo Silva's foot, and he didn't get to it. They got it. It's goal. They didn't really have to work for that one. The second goal, I think, again, when we talk about having some synergy, players on the same page, Nico O'Reilly got subbed on. But he wasn't quite in tune with Akanji in terms of how to move forward, and they just left enough of a gap. It was too much, and I understand the philosophy as well because I'm blanking on their striker for Juventus, but he just peeled off of
Kolo. Was it Moani? Was it Kolo Moani?
No.
Okay.
Something. I'm going blank on him,
That's
but
right.
he just peeled off of Akanji, and I get O'Reilly should have been a little more determined to get over there because he had no one to really be responsible for on his side, him being the left back and anybody on the right hand side. And the pass was perfect. Like, it was just well timed and got the score, but it had already been 5-2 by that time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But listen, what I'm seeing, it's so early days, but to see players always playing with energy, always looking like they're not too slow a pace. This is going to take me back. Let me use an example with regards to Newcastle. Mm-hmm. So someone in the chat kind of talked about being envious of what Pep has at his disposal. That was me looking at you guys last year. I was like, because there were times where City were rumored to go and get Bruno. Like, we were kind of in the mix to try and do that. There were times when we were also looking for West Ham with regards to Paqueta, but just with regards to like the quality of midfielder. I'm looking at Newcastle. I'm like, I'm seeing physicality. And it's not just physicality in terms of like being able to hold their own and muscle players off the ball, but to be able to run 90 minutes. And it wasn't without any lack of technique. Y'all were still playing like football. So I was like, I need my club back. I need that midfield back. That's what City have often done. When we were able to get over the line over Liverpool, it was because we had that better quality midfield to be able to deal with their ability to just constantly run. So I wanted that back, and I'm seeing some of that right now, and I'm also seeing a change up with regards to like new ideas. So this may not be known, but City got rid of so like the coaches and the assistant coaches. That's all been revamped. Mm-hmm. Like we brought in 2 former assistant managers that were over at Liverpool. We've brought over Kolo Toure, who's now over here, and there's just so much of a change. And I think we're gonna truly do what we've done a few seasons in the past, is like, if you're going to low block us, we're gonna truly suffocate you with the number of attempts. We're not gonna be trying to pull you out of position, but we're gonna suffocate you because we're gonna be attacking from all different angles. And now when we talk about the signings, we aged out in midfield. Everybody knows this. You saw what our record was. Yeah. We aged out. We have to say thank you so very much. Bless. The best I've ever seen. KDB, it was time for KDB to go. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And before he even left, we went out and got, I think, in my opinion, I'm going to say we went out and got the replacement for Julian Alvarez that was so good for us for 2 seasons in Omar Marmoush. We went out and got him. He plays a 10. He's very similar. I'd say he works more on the left-hand side than he does on the right-hand side, like Julian Alvarez, but we went and got him. We saw they were losing legs. There's no replacing. Please, everybody in the chat, if you don't even attempt to clip this up, there's no replacing KDB. None. Yeah. Not possible. I don't care if I go out and get 4 or 5 players. I'm not replacing him. But I do need quality. So when the club went out and got Reinders like labeled or awarded best midfielder in Serie A, when we went out and got Shirky, who there's going to be huge comparison because of the timing of the signing between him and Wirtz. But when we go on and we get that type of tricky player, I'm like, okay, I get it. We're going to have to do it by committee. We're never going to do it by one player. So when some rivals, especially Liverpool fans, want to talk about, oh, every City fan, everybody said Wirtz was KDB's replacement. No, he was never going to be KDB's replacement. We said if KDB was out, we'd like to get that type of quality in the club, but there was never going to be his type of replacement. We'd still have to complement Wirtz with a player because he can't do it all. No one's going to do it like KDB. So the fact that they spent, I guess, £116 on Wirtz. Mm-hmm. We spent that on Reinders, Shirky, and we got a left back in Aït-Nouri. So I'm happy with the business that the club's doing. Early in the chat they talked about kind of envious with how Pep's cooking. I don't think Pep cooks like this with just getting Wirtz. Mm-hmm. I think Pep cooks like this because he gets 3 players and he's able to improve where we've been trying to get a left back for years. Like, unfortunately for what happened to Mendy, that was supposed to be our 8-10 year left back, and that was never possible. Pep's doing what Pep does. Like early days when he had Fabian Delph playing left back, he had Gavardio playing left back and trying to get a roll out of that.
Incredible player, one of my favorites.
Listen, for me, from a leadership standpoint, for a man that's getting the most out of his ability, yeah, I mean, for me, it was crazy. It was amazing. And even when you some of the documentaries and you see how he spoke to teammates, how he had the respect of his teammates was great. But we aren't moving like this if we only get one player. And for us to get 3, and we're still looking to improve. I'm incredibly happy. I get teased, all especially Liverpool fans, but rivals want to talk about what we spent. They want to talk about what we spent in January.
They can't talk to you no more. I don't want to hear no more chat.
Hey, they can't talk about spending anymore. They shouldn't. They should not be talking about spending anymore. And I've said this, and it's crickets, right?
Spending, let me just put this up here. Go on.
Yeah, exactly. They can't talk about spending, but it's also funny because all the conversations that have happened in the past in terms of what's wrong with football, what needs to stop, what they need to improve, they're doing exactly what many were saying shouldn't be happening in football. They're talking about, when you're winning and you're still able to like strengthen with that level of spending, that's not good for the game. Well, you were saying it wasn't good for the game, but now it seems to be right. It's crickets now with regards to ruining football or buying yourself a league. So we'll see where all that goes. But I find it interesting that when Liverpool spend from a position of success or strength, it's talked about as that's what clubs are supposed to do. Bravo to them. It wasn't talked like that when it was a different club. When it was Chelsea, when it was City, it wasn't talked like that. And my thing, where often I get labeled as, oh, you're just an apologist, or you just want another oil brother to have success. It's deeper than that.
Yeah,
because I truly believe the football pyramid wins when there's an additional player that's trying to succeed and spending in the sport. Because the whole fearfulness of, we have to let Newcastle do things slowly, because if they do, they're going to ruin the market, because they're just going to go out and spend 500 million. Who believes that? There are billionaires in the world right now. Do they go everywhere? Do they go everywhere and just overspend to get things? Like,
right.
When we go, quote unquote free market, or you go to the flea market, or you go to bargain things, is everyone overpaying? No, everybody wants to pay for the value of what's in front of you, regardless of how your means are. So when they want to talk about, we have to control these rules, we have to put these rules in place, because if not, a club like Newcastle are just going to buy and hoard everything. No, it's never been the model. It's never been how anyone with money actually moves. Anybody with money wants to keep their money, so they spend to what the value is of things. So I think, and I said this, I know I'm going off on a little rant here.
No, it's all right. Get it off your chest.
But I also said this. So my background, I have a sports marketing background, and what was so important is I had to negotiate deals and contracts, not only with athletes, but sometimes with venues and events, because of the timing of it. Strike when the iron's hot. So when I was going to bat, when I was fighting and talking about all these APT rules are ridiculous. Oh, look what you're doing with regards to PSR. Oh, here's another layer to FFP. If you have a club with the energy and the support and the growth and momentum of a Newcastle, when you got new owners and you had the fan base being like, thank goodness, I won't discredit your previous owner, but it's like, thank goodness we can actually go and spend now and not just look to maintain. When you have that type of energy, it becomes infectious, and there's a momentum where everybody wants to be like, oh, let me get the new kit. Oh, let me go to this event where maybe players are connecting with the community. Oh, I want my brand recognized. I want my brand amongst that type of energy.
Yeah.
So when you prevent things like that, there's no going in later, because that first moment, that first energy, those goosebumps are gone. So I didn't like how APT moved, because it prevented a club to say, I want to be with Newcastle before they win the first trophy. Because when they do win that first trophy, there's some loyalty there, or is there, there's that connection with regards to an affinity because I've been there before the quote unquote trophy arrived. Now, after you've won the League Cup and now there's going to be more that want to come on. Yeah, there's energy there and it's great, but it's not like the first. It's not like a company or a brand wanting to get in at ground level. So I and this was missed by so many want to say, oh, look at Vator talking, he doesn't know business. What club's gonna want to pay to be a part of something before something successful? What? That vision. People see, oh, grassroots, let me get in early because I know down the road it's going to pay off. And that's what was prevented from many opportunities with regards to Newcastle. But to bring it all back, if my club right now are able to strengthen the way it looks like, and if I'm going to be completely honest with you, you know the deficiencies you have at your club, the deficiencies at mine right now, they do lie with regards to homegrown English quota. I think we got concerns there depending on some potential outings. If it happens to be like a loss of a Jack Grealish, a departure of a Stones, although news says lately it was said that he wants to stay at Manchester City. Same goes for Ake. But depending on how we may lose with regards to our English players, that's where there's going to be a big concern. But it's right back. Right now, like in terms of like a bona fide, legit, a player that's supposed to be a right back playing right back, we don't have that.
We're going to get to that. Already people are talking about, hey, you can't have Tino Livramento. We're going to get onto transfers. You had the audience. You're about to lose them in a minute. Keep talking about the ATP and PSR. And
they like when I talk that. Yeah, they like when I talk that. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go on, Vator, go on.
No. So I was saying, yeah, if in terms of deficiencies, the only part is with regards to the right back. I'll be honest with you, there hasn't even been a short list. I check in, I see what the rumors are and who might be mentioned, but at the same time, it's all speculation because I firmly believe that you guys don't have to sell. I don't think you guys have to sell, and I also don't think that there's players that are. Yes, Manchester City is a great place to play. Yes, going to Liverpool would be a great place to play. But I think there's still there's that connection amongst the players that they want to win more before leaving, if that makes any sense. So, and if a player were to leave, you'd have to play way over what would be the market price because of players don't need to leave Newcastle. Right. So if they're going to leave, you're going to have to pay over the top. I think I would like my club, and it doesn't need to be Livramento, but I would like my club to go out and get a right back because if we do that, and again, all things being equal, players remain healthy, I'll take my chances to go after this title because the league needs us. The league needs us.
We need the balance. Well, we're going to get onto it. We've got a few folks in the chat before we're going to take a little step back and talk about a little bit about Man City season. Again, get a little bit further in depth into their transfers and everything else. So, but we've got a few folks in the chat blowing up the chat, by the way. Keep liking, keep sharing, keep subscribing. Drop a comment as well, guys. It'd be fantastic. Luca talks football. Luca talks Dons. Good to see you, Luca. And God bless you, sir. Hey, how are you? Living life to the full. Living life to the full, sir. Well, Naya, all signs are pointing to a football regulator coming into force within the next 10 years. I personally hope not, but I'll get into that in a moment. But we'll see. Aaron Kane, what about Rico Lewis, though? Isn't he the solution to a City's right back issue? Got a brief answer for that, Vator, before?
Yeah, let me hit you. Nah, warning signs. Nah, listen. Rico through the academy was a midfielder. Rico breaking into the first team, and God bless him, he did it by actually playing at that right back and him helping Pep at the time with regards to what he wanted to do with an inverted right back, right? And actually defending. It's not his natural position. I think he can be a squad player. I don't think he can be relied on when we think about, it is a must-win game versus Newcastle late in the season. It's going to be a must game maybe in Europe. I don't think Rico's ever going to be that first name called for right back. And I would if he's going to learn that position or learn that role, I would want it with someone with him mentoring being mentored by someone that actually plays that position. So I don't think he's ready for it.
So there you have it. There you have it. I think Iniesta actually said that City fans do see him as a midfielder. So let's do a brief season review because it helps us understand why, for instance, which is the next section after that, which is around transfers, and kind of explains maybe why City went for the players they went for, and everything else. It kind of leads on to that. So I went to FOTMob and I got a little bit of a breakdown in terms of where you guys rank in various different various stats and situations and everywhere else on top of that. And so it gives us a look at City and where they are. I forgot to look at your total points total, by the way. You guys obviously finished third.
We finished third. Let me check real quick because it's something I've tried to forget. Well, we 71 points. We are 3 points off Arsenal with 71 points, and Liverpool won it with 84. So 84, 74, 71, and Chelsea right behind with 69.
And I think we had 66 as well. So
yeah, and you guys were.
So it was all nip and tuck for a bit there. So FOTMob, obviously they do their rankings. So they got the stats in terms of on and off the ball, attacking, defending, possession, all these type of things. So they put that all together. We'll go through them briefly to get kind of a take. And this is focusing strictly on your Premier League stats. So if you're thinking, oh, we did a little bit here and in this cup competition we did that, this is strictly on the Premier League stats.
Before you continue on, listen, everybody in the chat, hit that like button if you haven't. This man came. There's channel hosts that kind of do their homework. They'll do a quick search. This man did proper research, right? You can tell that this is a professional right here. And I know what he does in his professional life, it has spilled into the channel. I can see it. So cheers. Absolutely amazing. But yeah, let's break this down.
Let's break this down. So FOTMob, when they've kind of, so they gave an overall assessment of your kind of metrics so far, and they've actually rated you as number one in the league, which is interesting considering Liverpool won. But every stats have got different things, so it's interesting. So they've got you as second for goals per match, so 1.9 goals, so nearly 2 goals per match. Goals conceded per match, you're fourth with 1.2 goals per match, which will be interesting to get your view in terms of defensively, where have you been? There's other things that I'm going to talk about, and we'll get your overall take on it. Your average possession, number one, which I'm sure is pretty typical for City, 61% on average per game, and you're second. We're second as well for clean sheets. There's about 3 teams with 13 clean sheets.
Okay,
which is interesting in itself. When we're looking at your attacking stats, you're expected that XG, you come second with 66 goals. Excuse me. I don't know if you're still on the league table. But interesting to see how many goals you actually got. That'd be interesting to know.
We scored 72 goals and we allowed 44.
Interesting. So you've actually exceeded your expected goals, and which is always a good sign. And hence why you bought the likes of Mamouche. I remember he scored that those top bin goals. That's what you can look at.
Man came in January and got goal of the season. Like
right. Money well spent. shots on target per match. You're second in the league for that. Nearly 6 shots on target per match, which is really really good. Big chances created. You're third in the league for that. Big chances missed, you're 8th in the league for that. Your accurate passes per match first, you'd expect that. Accurate long balls. Now, this is kind of going in towards your tactics, because typically, obviously, you're a possession-based team mainly, and hence why it's not surprised that you're 12th. But I would say, and see what you get, ask you at the end of it, where you slightly tweaked your tactics. Sometimes you did go a little bit more direct. Like when you beat us 4-0, you went really direct. You kicked off with Ederson literally getting an assist. Which was phenomenal, and hence why you got Mamouche and Harden. I'm sure Harden would like that as well. So I'm going to ask you a little bit later on in terms of your tactics. Accurate crosses per match, 10th in the league. we're talking about your wingers there. Penalties awarded ninth in the league for that, and touches in the opposition box, you're first in the league. I think Liverpool were only behind you by about 5 touches.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it was incredibly close. Corners, again, first in the league, a possession dominant team. Just on your overall attack, and before we get to your defense, kind of, there's 2 things that spring out for me.
Yeah.
One is the accurate long balls. Like I said, I feel like Pep went a little bit more direct after a period of time when things weren't going quite well for you, and it worked like a gem. You can work in transition when you want to be. It worked like a gem against us really, really well, and I think Haaland really, really enjoyed that as well as
Yeah.
Mamouche. And I remember there's an interview where Pep talked about how essentially the style of football is heading in towards how Newcastle, Brighton, Bournemouth kind of play. So I'm one. My first question to you is one of 2 questions. My first question to you is: are you expecting a little bit more of that next season? And the other question around your attack, my other question around your attack was corners, which is even no, was it no accurate crosses per match? Accurate
Yeah.
crosses per match, which makes me think about Savinho, Doku. Do you rate your wingers? And it's quite a load, kind of quite a lot there.
Yeah. No, I got you.
Let me
So
let me know.
yeah. So what I often enjoy is, like, again, reflection mid-season, postseason, when you go into the stats, because then it blends. It blends well with what has been the eye test throughout the entire season, and when you're watching games. And I'll admit to you, like, I kind of geek out sometimes. I'll watch the game live, obviously emotion, I'm pacing, I'm like screaming, I'm yelling, and then if it's a game on a Saturday, I might by Tuesday watch the game over again. I might and it's not, I'm not taking notes or anything. I'm just watching it for a second time, because you catch what when you, maybe you're a ball watching the first time, and I'll watch and I'll be like, oh, you know what, that pass should have been released there, or why didn't my man make a run? You kind of notice all these things, right? So when you bring up these stats, what jumps out at me is we were able to do that and still have the difficult season that we had. We were able to do that. And for a portion of it, we were doing that without Haaland. And the majority of that season, like from an attacking possession standpoint, we were doing that without Rodri. So when many want to go and talk about, oh, Pep's lost it, Pep's been figured out, Pep was able to get the team to do all of that you just described, or that's just been highlighted, without the Ballon d'Or player. He was able to do that with kind of like a missing here or there KDB, a missing here or there Gundogan, and definitely without Haaland that we lost to close out the season. So I'm sitting up. I'm sitting up. I got my chest up. I'm like, okay. And as the show progresses, now when you look at the signings that were required, and this is what's going to lend me into when you point out the long balls or even the crosses. In this game in particular, Tone, I was a couple balls over the top. Ederson, best. Let me. I gotta brag. Hey, let me do this. Ederson recently said he's not going anywhere. He's not leaving City this summer. Okay,
right.
This player is so underrated, because obviously you look at him. So. You look at him as a keeper. Everybody wants to say, oh, what's the shot stopping? Everybody wants to compare him to Alisson. But what they don't do when they compare him to Alisson is look at his distribution. Because as quality as Alisson is, he doesn't have that. He doesn't have feet like Ederson. And yes, I know Ederson gave up an error today with regards to passing it, and we suffered a goal. But typically, that is not him at all. And Ederson had 5 assists last season. So when you talk about the long balls or balls over the top, my keeper had 5 assists in a season. That's madness, right? Yeah. So with him saying he's going to stay with Haaland, and in this game versus Juventus, Ederson loops a ball over the top. I kid you not. The crowd saw Holland, it hit his foot like his foot was a pillow, and he just brought it down. I think many didn't expect him to show that level of skill, but he brought that ball down, and then we were on the attack. It was like the oohs and ahs were happening. I'm so excited with what we're able to do healthy. Like I mentioned, having Rodri back, having Holland, but when we talk about the crosses, we were playing with Gavardio for a large portion of that at left back, and it doesn't quite work. He's very good. He could invert, and he posed a threat. He was getting some headers in there. He was getting some goals, but the whipped cross, that cross going across the box, that's not his skill set. Ait Nouri, now purchased this summer, that's exactly what he's going to be asked to do. He's going to be a player asked to hold the width. He's going to be a player to allow maybe Marmoush or whoever that left winger, today was Doku, for them to maybe start wide and come inside. Ait Nouri goes along the outside, and then we have that attacking in the middle and him being able to whip a ball across. I think the staff, like we mentioned a little earlier, I think they did exactly what you did, but obviously to a lot deeper degree. They went out and said, where were our strengths last year? And where were our strengths with the personnel that we had? Now let's get personnel that are good with those strengths that we were getting getting a result out of that, and that's not even their strong suit. So I think Ait Nouri bleeds right into this in terms of accurate crosses. It's still a question with regards to right back. Don't kill me, Newcastle. But I know Livramento can deliver an accurate cross. I know he can do that. So we're looking for that type of profile of player. And then, I mean, possession-wise, that's always going to be something that we're going to want to maintain. We're either going to want to kill you with 1,000 deadly cuts, maybe paper cuts all day. We're going to try and kill you and just push you right into that final attacking third and suffocate you and make you think that every time you got possession, you got to boot it out of there because we're going to be pressing you to win possession. I think those are the players that we acquired. And then Reinders next to Rodri, and I'm going to just for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to go based off of this game because they both played together. I don't think there's a better matchup that City could ask for. I see how it works for you guys with regards to midfield, and when you have all three, they're imposing. I think if we can have, and I'm just going to start with the two. If I can have Reinders and Rodri, and then whoever else can maybe partner to be that creative outlet, I think we're cooking there because Reinders has the legs. Yeah, Turkey, exactly. Foden. So we've got that, but those two, I'm really happy with that. And when Rodri gets his legs back, I think those stats all increase again. Because why that goal differential was so crazy. And let me look real quick, because funny enough, as terrible as my defense was, we gave up. We had 44 goals against. Liverpool, who won the league, had 41 goals against. So I think Rodri shores us up. I don't think we're that vulnerable with the counters. And some of the mistakes we made, many can remember, like Mateus Nunes, he's a midfielder. Pep's played him at left wing. Pep's now playing at right back. He did give up a few goals, a couple errors playing at right back. I think we shore that up with him being a little more versed, or we go out and get quality. That goal differential drops considerably. I think the goals against will drop considerably because I don't think we're going to be as vulnerable. I don't think we're going to be as sloppy. So we did the business that was needed because we were also, some want to say maybe arrogant. I think we over-indexed on how much the players could do it for another season. I think we really thought. I think they looked, and maybe arrogantly, maybe arrogant was the right description, but maybe they looked and said, "We won the league. Liverpool didn't buy any. Liverpool bought Chiesa. We won the league, and Arsenal went out and got Moreno and Sterling and Calafiori. Like, so maybe looking at, okay, where did they really strengthen for us to have to answer to? I think that's maybe where the club might have been arrogant in terms of how they looked at the squad, not maybe seeing the considerable drop off for another season. So I think they fixed what they needed to do. most outstanding will be if there's no remaining exits. Maybe we go as is, but I think there's a high chance of a Jack Grealish leaving. I think there's a high chance of one of our center backs leaving, and then we'll see how we adjust from there. But I've always been one, even when we didn't purchase anyone, to be like, we still have enough to compete. It's just a matter on how much room for error do we have. And I think we've given ourselves a little more room of error if with the additions, because now it's up to Pep to figure out who mixes right with each other. A big signing that happened, mind you, he was a January signing, but we didn't bring him in because he's playing in South America. But Claudio Echeverri, who thank goodness he suffered an ankle. It was an ankle like injury. Not anything Achilles, not anything long term. So it looks like he's out for 3 weeks. But we've got options. We've got options with regards to the attack. And one thing that I often emphasize, and I said this when I was over at Sarcasm City TV, I was like, everybody, talk to your brother, talk to your sister, talk to your mom, dad, everybody. Say thank goodness that Pep looks at football in an attacking style. That Pep looks at football to want to be creative, to want to score goals. If he was wired the other way, if he was wired to be like the defensive, you're never going to score on me, like that type of like yuck. It'd be disgusting football. So I'm glad we got so many attacking options, and let's see if we can outscore you.
Well, speaking of the defensive point, your defensive metrics, and you're right, it isn't as bad as people, you sometimes lead to believe until you kind of break down the numbers and stuff like that. Your XG, so XG conceded your 14th. So this isn't the actual numbers. XG conceded your 14th, your 48.5 goals. What did you actually concede?
We conceded, what did I say? 44 goals?
44 goals. So you actually outperformed by 4 goals in your defensive area. So you outperformed your attacking, and you've outperformed your defensive work, which is, again, interesting. If you just listen to the flashpoints and highlights of City season, and I know what the standard is. I know I get that when people say, "Oh, but they win triples, they're doing champions." I get that, but there's the other side where people are going over the top in terms of criticize. So you're going to say something. I was just going to say that people are going over the top in terms of criticizing certain things. I think Vator's going to say something, but I was just going to mention. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, you're right on. I was just saying it's also interesting on when they're talking, right? Because it is going to be exaggerated and over the top, and I get it. If you're always going to compare City to when they won a trouble, like that type of final Super Saiyan form, then everything's going to look bad, right? But if you kind of see that, with regards to the competition and where things are at, like it wasn't that bad. We had a terrible run of games.
Yeah, and I agree. Interceptions per 90, interception per match, you're 19th, which I would expect because you have most of the ball most of the time. So your interceptions, your tackles are going to be phenomenally low. Successful tackles, again, 20th. Clearances per match, you're 20th because you don't have to spend too much time defending again.
And we try not to, even when we win possession, like deep in our own defensive end, we're trying to hold. We're not trying to clear it. We're trying to acquire it and still play out, which has cost us sometimes. But yeah, the clearance out, they're far and few in between. Yeah,
precisely. I'm going to get to the possession one on final third because that's the one I want to talk to you about. But just to say, penalties conceded 6th in the league. Interesting. Is it high? Is it low? I'm not sure. Saves per match 19th. Again, you'd expect that. Your keeper makes average of 2 saves per match because you again hold the ball most of the time. But possessions won in the final third. You're 7th in that way. So nearly 5 per game, 4.8. Now, why I wanted to ask you about that is, and forgive me, I couldn't find the show because it had the stats on it. I really enjoy it. I don't know if you heard it. It's called Transfer Flow. But they had a really, really good, interesting take on City as to perhaps why you didn't have this, why you've had the season you had this year, i.e., no Champions Leagues or Premier Leagues and stuff like that, fighting for Champions League. So what was it? And what they brought it down to was the intensity in City's play out of possession has actually, if you study the metrics over the last couple of years, has gone really, really down, like you're saying. And this was like the benchmark. Forget all the great stuff that you do creatively or on the ball and everything else like that. It's the stuff on the ball as well that is, I think, just as important.
Yeah.
And over time, that has decreased, and you've been able to get away with it because of the talent you have on the ball. But this season, it came to a head. Like it says on here, you're in possessions one in the final box, a seventh for that, and that's cost you dearly. That's allowed teams to go on you, to threaten you, to come against you, and they're not bothered to try and play you in the middle of the park. They're just going to go directly over you. The question I have, and it kind of ties into what they said in transfer flow, and it's not trying to rain on the parade of Reinders and the other midfielders, is what they felt about Reinders and I can't remember if they mentioned Gonzalez, but they talked about the Reinders is that if from when the anticipation would have been to get midfielders that can bring back the intensity in the midfield to win back tackles and allow you to also to progress up the field and win possession in the final third, which is the hallmark of what City is doing. Reinders isn't necessarily that type of midfielder. Is he intense? Yes, but is he a box-to-box kind of winner of the ball? Isn't that kind of play. So my question is, do you think, is that a concern, or do you think, and you think you've already alluded to it before, is it's more pointing towards maybe a different style of play that City are doing, or do you think maybe the third option is Pep will turn them into what he needs to turn them into to be that intense team?
So I'm in two minds right now because I've seen how we've changed being a 0-0 to when we're a goal up or 2 goals up, right? So, and it's going to maybe sound a little overly simplistic, but let's win possession back really quickly in the final third. Like let's keep to suffocate them. I saw that more depending on the match and depending on the opposition, and I say that because if the goal scoring threat is really in quick transition, then I've seen the club do exactly that. If the opposition really aren't that potent with regards to their counterattack, then it's like, well, we're going to concede the pitch a little bit, and your attacking threats aren't really going to force us to have to win possession that early. But I think Pep was doing that out of necessity to try to manage last season's squad, because we had so many defenders that were out. We had so much confusion with regards to the midfield on how to do things. And I noticed this last season with regards to our four-peat and somewhat with regards to the treble season. But Haaland isn't the best presser. Like when Pep was doing things, and he had to get Sergio Aguero to actually do this. There was times where he wasn't even starting Sergio because he was like, Gabriel Jesus is doing what I've asked him to do. He's gonna be pressing. He's finding the right angles, and then eventually we needed the goals, and Pep figured out how to maybe get everyone else to be on the same page. And I think he's gonna be doing that with Haaland. But last season, I think he was like, I just got to survive this. I can't ask these guys to have that same level of intensity. Now, when you ask me what with regards to the acquisition of the players, can we get back to what would be the signature let's win possession back? I say yes, because if you think about the personnel that we are doing that with, no one would have ever said that David Silva is like has that stature to be part of that press. Even with regards to KDB, and KDB's been amazing, but that's not the part of the game that you really talk about. Same goes for Ilkay Gundogan. He's not the swiftest of feet,
right?
But that midfield were able to get it done. And I didn't even say the name because we know that he can run for days, Bernardo Silva. But Bernardo Silva, again, gritty, bulldog. But in terms of physicality, he's not that. So I think as you ask me that question, are the players going to be more important to the system, or is Pep going to be able to get those guys to understand the system despite their physical stature and their capabilities or abilities. I think so. Yeah, I think he's going to tap into here are the angles. Here's whether it's understanding right foot or left foot, that depending on how you're attacking these players, how they open up their hips and where you want to prevent them from going. I think that's what he's going to get these players dialed in. And again, I don't know if there's any Liverpool fans in the chat, but I know that as soon as Pep Linders came over to Manchester City, then the man was discredited. Oh, he didn't really do anything. Oh, he wasn't important to Klopp. He didn't really help us win. All those things started coming out. But he was Robin to Klopp for a reason. Right? He brought something to that club to why they were able to have their success, as much as they want to discredit and diminish it. Yeah. I think that's the, Reinders, even with regards to Rodri, whoever's going to be playing in tandem, whether it's Turkey or Foden, here's how I need you guys to move. My wingers, if it happens to be Savino and Doku, who both started today, here's the angles and here's how you're going to help us win possession back. Oh, maybe in this instance, we want the outlet to be to the keeper. Let them force it back to the keeper because the keeper's distribution is terrible. We're probably going to win it back. Or we recognize that left center back or maybe that right center back, they don't have the most confidence with that ball. That's where that's the triggering points. So I think Pep Linders is going to help us with that overall, and we're going to get back to that intensity that's needed when you're out of possession. But if I'm going to be like generic, I think it's going to be situational. I think it's definitely going to be dependent on the opponent. And I think it might, and I think it's also going to be, we definitely have a striker versus center back advantage here. We'll get possession back. We don't need to win it right now. And let's just go cycle through and we'll get our scoring opportunities. I think it's really going to be falling onto that. But if anyone wants to judge last season as this is maybe a trend, I think you're picking the wrong data to say this is where City are going.
Well, you heard it here first. There's lots of adaptability. Folks, make sure you're liking and subscribing. We've got about 30 minutes left, and I would touch on ATP, but I had an ATP section I wanted to ask you about, and the transfers that you've had so far. So let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can achieve. Yeah. I think we can do it. But final touch, I think, just the last one was on discipline. Not too much to say. Fouls per match, 20th. Again, high. You got high possession. You're not going to make it. You don't need to make that many fouls. But I think if you are intense out of possession, you probably will get more yellow cards. So, but you spoke about that. So you kind of not wanting to get more yellow cards. But I think yellow cards are also a useful indicator to suggest whether a team is, tight on opponents. Are they kind of being aggressive or whatnot? But it's yet to be proved. Like I said, City's got a high possession team. Fouls per match again, 20. Yellow cards 20th, yes, and red cards 16th. Again, you've only had 2 red cards. I can't remember. You got one against Arsenal. I can't remember who you got the other one. You got one against Arsenal. But I can't remember the other team.
We got Arsenal and
was it both against Arsenal? Was it 1 and 2? Can't have been. Well, if you remember it, let me know. But I remember the Arsenal one, that's for sure. You touched a little bit on the ATP stuff. We're going to talk about it here. You spoke about it earlier, kind of really comprehensively, and I wanted to kind of remind folks of where things are at, which is just a brief summary for people. Summary of the Man City's legal battle with the Premier League dispute origin. So City's 2023 sponsorship deals with the Etihad Airways and First Abu Dhabi Bank were blocked by the Premier League for not meeting APT fair market value rules, whatever that means. APT rules regulate owner-linked sponsorships to prevent overinflated revenue for spending boosts, tighten for fairness. So the legal challenge, City sued the league, arguing APT rules excluded shareholder loans and procedural flaws, so no early data bank access. Okay. So initial ruling in September 2024, this is since 2023, tribunal found key APT rule elements unlawful. You can't even put these rules. This is unlawful, right? Supporting City's claim. Positions and votes. So City deemed the rules void because it's unlawful. It's not legal. You cannot put these rules in. You can't even have it. This is illegal. Premier League. This is where you get this whole thing now. The Premier League amended them. So in November 2024, vote 16-4 in favor, right? Voted for the Premier League's amendment. Now, I'm proud to say this. With City, Forest, Villa, and your allies, your brothers in arms, Newcastle United voted against, which is again a sign of the times, really. Latest ruling, from the 2021 to 2024, from 21 to 24, APT rules declared void and unenforceable. Yeah, the Premier League didn't listen. City claims victory, but Premier League upholds amended rules. So the current status is where things are at. Is City has launched a new legal challenge against the amended rules. Now, I don't know. I don't think either of us are professionals, and just forgive me if I've got this wrong. We'll keep it very as brief as we can. But what is your overall view? Like, what's your kind of feeling? And where is this heading? Like, essentially, what is it? What's happening?
So my whole thing with regards to this is the fact that they were looking at some, like, with regards to loans, and they weren't trying to include that as unfair, or it's associated party wise when you know, from a loan standpoint, owners giving the club a loan, but the loan's not at the standard rate for everyone else, and that's not seen as too close of a party transaction. Like, isn't that the same thing with regards to, you're getting this for not the same price that everyone else would get if it happened to be a sponsorship? It's so hypocritical. I think where I'm going to stand, and I'll keep it really brief, is, again, the league scrambled. They scrambled because they were fearful. They didn't quite understand on what it was truly going to mean, because they automatically assumed that it was going to be inflated. They automatically assumed that it would be over the top. But what I wanted to emphasize early on is two people can be interested in sponsoring Newcastle. But if I want the affinity, if I want the recognition of my brand with your club, because it's gonna get my club to be that more successful, I'm gonna get more brand recognition, I may spend $5 million more than my competitor. And if my competitor chooses to maybe, they look to match that, and I say, you know what, they're matching it, now I'm going to boost it up another 5. I've now added 10 to what was original. That's because I want it that badly. But it's not exceeding market value because there's competition here. I'm trying to get it over the top from the competitor. So I don't understand how they're even going to be possible to judge it. I don't know how they're going to be like, this is inflated, because what is it? Is it only going to be $1 more? Are we going to be doing? I know you guys don't have the prices right over in the UK, but is it just like, as long as I spend $1 more, I get this? That's the silly part to it. So I don't know how they're going to judge it. I thought it was ridiculous to begin with, and when I also emphasize, in the moment, for the first time, excitement, I'm gonna want to get in early, and if that means most deals are standard $5 million and I want to pay $7 million, I'm paying $7 million. Don't come and tell me that I've inflated. This is an inflated associated transaction. So, and don't even get me started when we want to talk about certain regions of the country or of the world that don't have the representation, and they're going to choose to maybe spend more because they don't automatically have the same eyeballs, because they're not seen in the UK like that. They're not seen in North America like that. So I'm gonna pay more because this is my entry. This is what. So listen, APT rules. I'm so happy that my club fought it. I'm so happy that the wording came out that they were unlawful, and it's not even just the win for City. It's actually a win for the better element of football, because it affects everybody. The latest with regards to where all this is going to net out, who knows? Like, who knows where it's going to go? Because it's again, it is going to be like the last point you kind of meant, it is going to be amendment after amendment, right? They're gonna try to move it ever so slightly to have it be okay. And I think that's gonna be the fight. So,
and I promised myself I'd move on, but you just triggered a thought, which is because the constant conversation is around legacy, i.e., Newcastle shouldn't be able to get. I'll use Newcastle as an example.
Yes. I hate that argument. Go ahead, though.
Shouldn't be able to get a particular sponsorship deal because they haven't achieved what X and Y elite club has achieved over the years, type of thing. Well, I think the argument for that is, well, then where's going to be the change? You're just going to get the same people getting the same money all the time. It doesn't reflect what you've said, for instance. It doesn't recognize that there is change, new ownership, new bars, new event, new change. Like who can quantify that and what it is? But I'll leave it as that, and we'll see where we're at. And we've got.
Let me layer one thing on, though. Let me layer one thing on, because it was kind of touched on a little earlier. I truly believe that Newcastle, in some way, shape, or form, you are going to get into the multi-club business.
Yeah,
and the reason why is because if you're always going to have to pay over the top, because no one's going to let you into the network, right? So if no one's going to let you into the network, you got to have a sister company. You gotta have a sister club over here, a brother club over here, and maybe that's how you can develop the youth and develop some opportunities. And then also, when you're saying like, hey, you want to be a sponsor? Guess what? I got 2-3 other clubs as well. So it's having the ability, not just Newcastle, but the other brother and sister clubs that you might have in terms of your network. So I think it's where football is going because of silly rules like this, where they're not letting you do what you got to do.
I remember, again, I'm going to get stuck on this point, but I remember when our former director, Dan Ashworth, when you're speaking of multi-club ownership, our former club director, Dan Ashworth, whispered the name Ruben Neves, who at the time was playing for a Saudi club, and it forced it didn't force it, they just chose to do it. Premier League clubs called a vote on multi-club ownership, and it was only saved by one vote, which was Nottingham Forest.
Wow.
It's ironic now then that Liverpool, I don't know if you saw the news on Liverpool, are
they're the biggest
several clubs.
Yeah, they're the biggest hypocrites.
Anyway, I'll be able to stay on this forever. I want to get to, and I'm going to summarize this in one big lump for folks. Your transfer window, I'm going to put it all together so far. So
talk on it.
I'm going to sort of work backwards because you did, unlike most clubs, you had a January transfer window, and I'm beginning to suspect why you didn't buy previous summers because of all this stuff around with the Premier League and the 115 and everything else. I think you've had whispers that your court case is going to be fine, and then you went absolutely ballistic.
From your mouth to God's ears, I so hope that is the case, man. I so hope that's the case. But yeah, I think something got leaked out to be like, you know what might be coming down the pipeline shouldn't prevent you guys from doing what you got to do. So yeah, I don't know if it's gonna show up real quick, but I put on screen some of the signings from January and as of now, this summer. Actually, let me move it a little bit. Maybe
I've got it on here as well.
Okay.
I've got it on here. So I'm going to kind of work backwards and quickly. I know that we've got about 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
January overall spend was 172 million. Summer transfer window currently is around 160 million pounds, which is overall nearly 300 million at 288.7 million. In January, you bought 4 players. Omar Mamouche, obviously an instant impact. Nico Gonzalez, who's had a decent season as well. Kosanov, who we really wanted, but I hold no grudges. And but he's definitely one for the future. And Vator Reese, again, one for the future. So far in this summer transfer window, Rayan Aitnouri from Wolves for 36 million. Another Rayan, Cherky from Lyon. Reinders, we talked about as well. And Marcus Bettinelli from Chelsea, which is a new one on here. It's 1992. I'm assuming that's like a homegrown talent or something of that nature.
Yeah, and he's going to serving as like a third keeper. Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. So that's nearly 300 million in signings. I think you're probably going to continue spending. So I've got a couple questions, and this is added to the final point I wanted to ask, which is going to add to the final point I'm going to ask you. And we're going to talk about just a little bit, Latino a little bit as well. There is. You're also linked to obviously Sveri Nipan, who I think is on his way actually.
Yeah, looks that way.
I think you've won that race, isn't it? Jared Brantwaite, for you spoke about centre backs. Rodrigo, which is a new one, and I think Arsenal, anybody else looking at him are going to be scared now. And obviously Tino Livramento. My question is around. And I know the time, but as brief as you can in terms of how you feel so far about your and you kind of talked about this all about your transfer spend, and I guess how you feel about your links, and do you think you're linked to the right people? Essentially, do you think you're moving forward with the teams that you're going for?
See the links. What do you guys call it? You guys call the transfer window like goofy season or silly season or something like that?
Oh, well, silly season, yeah.
Season? So we're City get. It's funny because like you do the
By the way,
morning.
just want to say, Vator, sorry to interrupt, but the red cards was Mateo Kovacic and Rico Lewis. Sorry,
okay, the two reds.
David Barter came back for it. Sorry, go on.
No,
Vator.
good looking out. Appreciate that. I try to erase that from my mind. The season with regards to transfers. There's always something linked to City, right? It's like. Because even the drama that was happening with Verts, I was like, okay, no, I kind of get it. We were the player in terms of putting yourself in the mix to try and get it makes sense. This one with regards to Rodrigo, I'm like, it's been hinted for a while, like that the player quote unquote hasn't been happy and he's looking for destinations, but it really got some momentum, but it wasn't making sense to me. I'm like, we've invested in Savinho, and Savinho can play on either side. We've invested in Doku, and this is Doku's third season and Savinho's second season. I don't know if we would actually go out and get him. I just didn't believe the rumor. And the reason why I didn't believe that is because it was similar to some past summers where Neymar was supposed to be rumored to come, like City were considering it. Early days, Messi, before he ended up at PSG, was possibly coming to City. So I get that we might be on the short list of a destination, but I don't see the club doing it. I really don't. And I also don't think that they're going to do that type of business now. Like I think it would have been something that it would have been, oh, let's secure it before the Club World Cup. Not something that could like drag on and be talked about. But I say all that, and things may change because apparently the clocks reset July 1, right? So we're a couple of days away from where the financial calendar or clock all resets again. So if we're in the mix for it, I would never oppose it. Us having him and an arrival like an Arsenal not having him, I'd be happy with. Where else might he end up in the Prem? Like I don't see him leaving. I think it's a lot of talk. I'm also hearing how they're talking about how obviously the new manager over there at Real Madrid. He's been talking highly, saying that Rodrigo is part of the future. So I'm not upset with that. I think Naipan's over there, like that's over the line. I think that's just a couple formal announcements away. The Livramento one, and again, I wasn't trying to trigger any of you guys in the chat. Profile of player, he falls homegrown. The ability that I was talking about with regards to, and the stats that you brought up to kind of show some of the strengths of City, he would fit right in, but we'd have to pay over the top, and I don't know if we do that. I don't think you guys would set yourselves back to have to get the next right back for how well he's doing. So I don't think that's a this summer acquisition, in my opinion. And then I'm trying to think of any other rumors out there.
Jared Brantwaite, centre backs, any centre back rumors?
So those are all kind of like on the burner. because it would absolutely depend on exits. Like we mentioned, the early sizing with Kosanov and Reese, that's the future, and those are two future center backs. Kosanov's speed, and as you know, because you guys were looking at him, I love his profile. Hey, make sure you're taking your English classes or taking your Portuguese classes or whatever, just so you can talk proper with your other teammates. But he's phenomenal, and he's got a bright future. I think as it stands, with even if we have an exit to Jack Grealish, or we have obviously, I mean, Kyle Walker, he's going to be moving on as well. But I don't unless we lose Ake or Stones, I don't think we sign a center back. I don't think we sign
Really?
Yeah. I think it's one of those where we're going to make do with Diaz. We'll make do with Diaz and Akanji. We're gonna have Stones, and if it's up to me, I'm telling Stones, you're not playing any more international football, like, because he plays there and he comes back and something's ailing him. If it were up to me,
you got the World Cup.
I know. So it's one of those, but it's like, yeah, we got Gavardio, we got Diaz, and we got Akanji. I think those are gonna be kind of like the mainstay, and then it's gonna be like preventing some injury between Ake and Stones. And on the right, at right back, we're going to have Rico Lewis. We're going to have Nunez, majority doing that. Maybe Kosanov at times is going to play that role. And then over at left back, we're going to have Nico O'Reilly. And then obviously we got Ait Nori, who looks great. The odd man out right now is going to be Victor Reese. And I think he obviously traveled to the Club World Cup. I think he's probably going to be the one where maybe his games are only like early day League Cups or I don't know, maybe some rotation here or there.
I listening to you, I'm so excited for the season that's coming up. It feels like everybody's like rearming themselves. They're like, okay.
Yeah.
Last season, we're going to talk this season.
We listen. I don't know if you're aware of this, but there was a drop in viewership last season.
Right. Yes.
TNT and Sky Sports all noted 17 to 10% drop. We Liverpool aren't entertaining enough. We need to strengthen. We all need to be back, and we need to carry this league, because what Liverpool did was disgraceful.
Vator, you've been absolutely phenomenal, and the chat has been ringing off. I hope the likes are up and everything else.
The likes better be up, guys. Come on. Come on, man, some love. Get the likes up.
Drop a comment as well, folks. Even if you just say Vator, Toon Tactics, whatever it is, it'd be great to have you. Vator, I know you got to go. Let folks know where they can find you.
Yeah, man, it's easy. Go into that YouTube search bar, type in Vator Games TV. It'll pop up. You'll come to my channel, my last show, and I'll put that on screen for you guys. My last show. I had to talk about all the ruining football talk. Why is that all so mute? Why is no one kind of bringing that up? Right? Why isn't that a conversation anymore? So I talked about that on my last show. My next show, I really want to break down this Club World Cup. I really want to talk about the Club World Cup and the performance and what we're seeing from these players. And it looks like we're not going to
be were better without Ineos. I just saw that title. That's interesting conversation you got there.
Yeah, hey, they don't want to have it. They don't want to have that conversation.
Oh, you're in trouble.
They don't want to have that conversation.
You're in trouble.
But yo, please tune in, subscribe, like my man said. I look forward to doing more shows with you, man. And thanks for having me on.
Likewise. Thank you, sir. And God bless now. Take care.
All right, take it easy.
Take care, Vator. Chat, we have had a phenomenal show with our man Vator, and just going through everything that's happening with Man City. I mean, goodness gracious, as Aaron says here, thank you, Philip and Vator. Amazing analysis. Honestly, the insight he's provided us for all things Man City was absolutely incredible. We went through obviously we talked about the Club World Cup, his view on the team, how they're playing. He sounds very excited about what he's seen in the early stage. And he acknowledges his early stages, but he feels really excited about what he's seen in Man City. and what sort of football is expecting from them coming into the new season. We talked about obviously that kind of reviewed the season that they have had in terms of what they've achieved, their metrics, attacking, defensive, what he puts that down to, and what their strengths are, where they need to work on, which led us obviously to the before we started talking the transfer talk, we first kind of broke down the APT stuff and where Man City are with that and what's happening, how it affects Newcastle, and what we are doing going forward, which led us obviously to talk about the transfer window so far, both in January and if you include their January spend and this summer, so far they've spent about 288 million on about 8 players. And they're continuing to go strong with that spending in the summer with a few more additions in tow. Although Vator doesn't think it's going to be a centre back, which makes sense. They've got a few centre backs coming in as well. They've already got a few centre backs at the club. Obviously, one of the main positions they're looking at is that right back slot, and hence why why they're looking at Tino Livramento. So maybe we might see one more final assault from Man City to see if they can prize Livramento from us. But Vator isn't overly. He's just saying, he'll be surprised essentially that if we're not here to kind of lose our best players, of which Livramento is obviously one, and we'll likely keep him. Hopefully, we'll also keep the likes of Isak as well. But you guys and the questions you guys were pouring in was absolutely phenomenal. I want to thank you guys for that. Before we lock off, obviously we talked about before Vator came on, we talked about Newcastle being apparently rejected for 3 bids for Anthony Elanga, James Trafford, and João Pedro. Will we see some transfer change coming up in this week? Obviously, July 1st is coming up, Tuesday. I think we will. I think we'll see some changes happening, possibly even just before then. I wouldn't be surprised if it's James Trafford through the door in first as well. So I think we'll see Newcastle's transfer window start in earnest, and probably some outgoings too. But we've got one final question here before we lock off from Giniesta Ronaldo. Philip, we need. Oh no, I think it's a question. Philip, we need you on more shows. Thank you, sir. As part of panel to represent NUFC fan base, you are also every knowledgeable and speak well. Giniesta, I really, really appreciate that comment. I thank you so much for that. It's really, really encouraging. Sometimes I feel that though when I go on panel shows, apart not on Spurs Kings, because Spurs Kings is incredible. But sometimes it gets competitive, it gets bantery, which I don't mind. But I always feel like I represent Newcastle better when I'm a bit more, when I have conversations like the one I've had with Vator, and like you've seen me have with Ash, or when you've seen me in terms of from Spurs Kings and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I really, really love that comment, Giniesta, and I'll do my best to come on as many panels. But who else has been incredible and knowledgeable is you guys in the chat. And I really, really want to thank you. It really adds to the conversations, it adds to the show, and you guys have been absolute quality. And I want to make sure you guys have an incredible evening or day. It's even here in the UK, whether it's morning, wherever you guys are, whatever you are doing. I hope you're blessed. I hope everything could be well with you guys. And as always, folks, take care and God bless, folks.